Hello, this is Perry Mink, and it is Monday, September 21st, 2020 at about 3:25 in the afternoon. So this is the For the People video, and it's a update, a current development report about what it is that I am still experiencing through this terrorist attack on me from the government here. And I am located in Martinez, California, in Contra Costa County, in the San Francisco Bay Area. So just a brief update, I still do not have gas for hot water and for the stovetop burners. I did get my phone activated, however, there are problems where it shows up on the phone that it's not activated, and I just don't know how to, get those issues resolved. The same issues they're similar to what happened when I activated this new refurbished computer. And I never resolved the issue with PG&E, the Pacific Gas and Electric, where not only about the gas, they're the ones that turned it off, but with the billing. And some of you may have kept up with that. They increased the kilowatts for the electricity, about 300 kilowatts from what I was normally using. So I don't know how to resolve that either. I also have not heard from any government official that I am going to receive justice at any time here in the near future, or even further in the future. I just don't know. But I'm not going to give up, because I proved every time that what is happening in our government is illegal. It stems from the Catholic Church, and then they recruit by the masses, and then they expect all of those people, who are people of different ethnicities, different religious backgrounds, and then they're supposed to perform, if you will, these acts against us here in the United States. And it's total diabolics, but violent. And the end result is that you are not to live. They can live, but we can't live. Alright, so in this episode, it's the segment where it's the homework assignment that's related to the August 28th, 2020 For the People video. And that is, once you understand and you can recognize cruel Catholic MO, then you'll know how to identify who is being terrorized and destroyed, or who would be the one that is the terrorist. And in this part of the episode are the two cases that I spoke of, and I already went through the Youngstrom, Lacey, Carlton case, and this is the second case, and that case is the Kevin Morrissey and his wife, Dr. Mamiko Kawai, and their two daughters. And this case happened, they lived in Berkeley, and they were found dead in Tilden Park, in the East Bay Regional Park, which was in the Contra Costa County side. And this happened in June 17th, 2007. Okay, so there's some aspects of this case that, one, this case is very difficult. This case is more for the people within the government who have access to other reports and other information, and they would then follow through to make more, solid, and find solid evidence. For the lay people, even for those who are a beginner, you're going to you're going to recognize, once you've studied the part articles, once you've, watched some of my other previous For the People videos, even before that, and you've seen my Facebook posts, you're going to recognize, you're going to be able to identify certain aspects that would cue you in to that there's cruel Catholic MO. Alright, so the first I'm going to tell the basic story of what happened to this family. Alright, so Kevin Morrissey, who was 51 at the time that they are all deceased, his wife was 40, and the daughters were 8 and 6, ages 8 and 6. So this was considered a murder-suicide, and they were found in the Mineral Springs parking lot at the Tilden Park, the East Bay Regional Park in Contra Costa County, and they were operating their own business that was called the Aura Laser Skincare, and so once you see that just this basic information would then make one think, okay, well, why would as you can tell, Dr. Mamiko Kawai is Japanese. That's a Japanese name. Kevin Morrissey, I looked into that, and this is where things become, more difficult in the case. The name Morrissey is Irish, and so for people that know about Ireland, that's a Catholic country. So there may be some connection to Kevin Morrissey being raised in a Catholic setting. I couldn't find that right now for this video. Alright, so a little bit of history first on Dr. Kawai. So she had been working at the Alta Bates Summit Medical Center in Berkeley, and it turns out that there were some problems there that kind of caused her to then start her own business, which was the skincare business. And she used to be a family practitioner, and then she focused on the skincare. And she was also involved in volunteering, in a medical capacity. Now, a little bit on Kevin's history is that now I'm speaking from the news reports and some other information that's online. I'm not going to post that in the description box for various reasons. As you know, the cruel Catholic MOers in the government want to shut me down or shut something down so that you cannot find more information. So it's possible if I did include those links, they would then remove them. So on your own, for the homework assignment, you can, search that information online. Alright, so Kevin Morrissey had worked for the CIA. That's from the news reports, but the CIA did not make a public statement as to that. They didn't say anything confirming that information. He also worked for other government agencies. He also worked as a system developer in the medical field at the Children's Hospital in Oakland, California. And he was also a part of this nonprofit organization that was provided like rescue services, some type of medical services during, like, how shall I say, like relief effort all over the world. Okay, now this is where the case gets, these are like the questions that you would ask, the statements that are questionable, the statements that would, you know, be triggers to say, well, what does this mean exactly? What else is there? What was it that they're not telling us even? Okay. So going back to this nonprofit organization that Kevin Morrissey was connected to is this mysterious death of a man called Dr. Mark Edward Stinson, who was found dead at the age of 49, at the prime of his life, and he's a white man, and he was working already 2 decades at the Contra Costa County Medical Center, Regional Medical Center, which is just down the street, and they found him at his home, and the coroner's office claimed that they couldn't determine his death because he had decomposed already to a point where they're saying that they couldn't determine. The strange thing about this is there is no news release, or I should say there's no like many news releases like you would see it on this ABC, NBC, CBS, this local newspaper, that local newspaper, these papers. There really wasn't any news report about this case, about Dr. Mark Edward Stinson. All right, so that was a clear, cruel Catholic MO. Okay, he was very high on the hit list. I can tell you that right now, and I just couldn't find any more information on him except some very vague information and some other information that made me think, I wonder, you know, what happened at his workplace. That's where it was connected to. I can tell you that right now, that it was most likely connected to his work. All right, so that was a very how shall I say, a cruel Catholic MO identifier that was unexpected. I didn't think that I would find anything like that connected to this Kevin Morrissey. All right, there was another aspect to this death scene at the Tilden Park, and that was in his pocket was a typed, like what you would call a suicide note. So it was typed. It wasn't handwritten. And that makes you wonder right there. Okay, now the reason that I'm putting all this in the section, right, you would be working on this case and you would be saying, what are the identifying factors that you would question that could be identifiers to being a cruel Catholic MO from within the government, okay? Or somebody that was connected to this cruel Catholic MO terrorist group. All right. So there's two very strong points right there. So the suicide note, this typed suicide note, claimed that it was because of financial problems with the family's business, the skincare business. It also indicated that there was something about as far as job opportunity was not, what was the word that they used? I wrote it down here. It was not, it was something about that it wasn't, the job market wasn't, like there wasn't anything that would be, it was unattractive. That's what the word that was used in the letter. All right, so keeping that in mind, because the record shows that they had recently, how shall I say, what was it, they had recently, oh, the word is escaping my mind right now. They just, it's when you refinance your home. All right, there you go. They recently refinanced their home, and they were approved for also a like $72,000 loan. And so that's not an indication that that would be the breaking point. So that really struck me when I kept hearing in the report from the police that it was because they were in such dire strait financial situation and that there was no way out. Okay, if you had just got a loan, the bank approved you for it, and now you have that cash, that's not you in the most dire strait situation that then you would commit suicide, you know, after you killed your family members. All right, so that was another indication. So then you go on to the, oh yes, I wanted to also say this Dr. Mark Edward Stinson was found dead in his home on March 3rd, 2007, which means that was about April, May, June, just like 3 months, just over 3 months from when this Kevin Morrissey and his family were found dead. All right, so some of the testimony from people that knew them was there was something else. It wasn't the financial crisis that they're claiming, that couldn't possibly be it, that there was something else going on. And there was also a public statement from, and I just want to explain to the highly intelligent enforcer puggy allies that please protect anybody involved in this that either could be targeted because I'm reporting on this. I'm giving this case as an example of cruel Catholic MO supremacist terrorist regime from within the government, because some of these people that are in the government may not exactly know what this is, and so they may make a statement that simply just reflects that, you know, they notice this sort of thing going on, you know, through the legal system. All right, so the next statement is from their attorney, who was, I guess, was their attorney for the lease of their business, their skincare business. And that attorney said something sort of spun out of control. Obviously, otherwise this wouldn't have happened. All right, so there's an indication that this is coming from something within the government that was like attacking these people, and therefore their life was snowballing. Now, if you look at my record, back when the this supremacist terrorist regime within the government kept attacking me, I was at my sanctuary home, and the mobile home park manager and kept harassing me, terrorizing me, doing all kinds of wicked, insidious, diabolical attacks, and it was draining me. And then this happened with Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al., and it just kept, like I said, they just keep bashing you. And I wrote a letter to one of my, I believe it was a credit card company or my bank or somebody, and I said to the effect that I was being bombarded. Okay, that was one term I was using. Another term was that, life was spiraling out of control. Okay, I believe I wrote that in a letter to somebody at that time. These were not things that I was causing. It was somebody behind that force that was doing it. And it took for a long time for me to get the evidence to prove that it was coming from, it stems from the Catholic Church. And they and their recruits are causing it. All right, so keep that in mind, that was a statement that was said about this Morrissey family. All right, so there were some other indicators from law enforcement, and some of their statements were, and again, as I said, I don't know any of these statements that were made by law enforcement, if they were involved in the cruel Catholic MO exactly, or they just happened to be the one that now had to report on it. I don't know. I just don't know. So this was in a news article, and this was a report from the park police, from the East Bay Regional Park, and they said there was no way police could be 100% sure what happened without a crystal ball. All right? Well, what does that mean exactly? Or is he saying we don't know what this is because it just doesn't make any sense? We can't figure it out because it was so diabolical. It was so manipulative, or you couldn't identify things? Or is he saying we're mocking this and we're just going to ignore? Okay? I mean, this is serious stuff that is happening right here in my community, and they teach this through the legal system. All right, so here I am, and I do have clairvoyance. I do have some paranormal activity, and so that's why I'm working on this case. Okay, well, the police also said, and this was in another news article, they said, they said something that they are close to certain it was a murder-suicide. Okay, well, but they aren't sure. Okay, so that's another indicator that they're not clarifying it. So This is what I'm talking about. That this case is connected to cruel Catholic MO. Okay, so the last part about this case that, and I mentioned about this in one of the previous videos as I was, speaking about these two particular cases, the Youngstrom, Lacey, Carlton case, and then this case, and they were attending the Congregational Church, and I looked into that. Okay, I knew when I heard that it was a Congregational Church during my research in writing the part articles. That's one of the churches that has been converted to more of a Catholic teaching. They're not under the Pope, but they do have more ritual practicing that they didn't have originally. They're considered under the Reformed Protestant Church. And so one of the rituals is that they do hold the blessing of the animals. And we have a Congregational Church just down the street from here, and I went there, or just happened to be walking down that way, and they were having an event, and it happened to be the blessing of the animals, and so I had Winnie blessed, and then they give you a certificate. Now, they don't ask you for money, like you can only do this if you pay this much money. There's nothing like that. But there is a donation box there. So I just wanted to let you know. I don't know what year that changed, that the Congregational Church, changed to a more Catholic ritual type of services. I don't know. All right, so I looked into this church a little bit more, and it said in a news article that they attracted, I'm going to turn the fan off, they attracted many Japanese because it's Japanese ministries and school programs. And so that was something that struck me, because that means that church is guiding them and teaching Japanese people to be living in a more Catholic idealism. So there would be idolizing and rituals and less living with the Spirit of God, the Jesus and the Holy Spirit. It would, I don't know what their specific doctrine is. I don't know what they are actually, what Bible do they work out of now. I don't know. But this is a church that is one of the churches that is considered converted to more of a Catholic church. So that was an indicator right there. All right, so now you have an idea of the basics. Okay, I gave you what the scene was like, what this was connected to, their religion, what was going on at the workplace. That was another thing about this spiraling out of control, or that it spun out of control. If you look at the Szymanski case, which is in my Part 7 article, Way Beyond Broken, when you look into Szymanski, who was the councilman for the Danville city, which is here in Contra Costa County, and you could see that he was being bashed for a long time, and then they just, I guess, finished him off, okay? But if you look before that, for some reason, they eliminated him from the workplace, which was, I believe he was working at AT&T, which is the phone company, which is now Pacific Bell, or not AT&T. Is it AT&T? I believe it was, on the top of my head, I just know that he was in one of these top companies here, but that he was left early on, like in the prime of his life or something, and then he became to be on the council with the city of Danville. So you could see that although he was making the best of his life with his family, he was like, things were like going out, and he didn't know why it was happening, because you could tell by his statements that one of the cruel Catholic MO is that they talk over you, they don't stop talking, they don't complete what the issue is about. They don't want to talk about the issue, because what they're doing is they're changing everything to make people convert to the cruel Catholic MO, to overthrow. And so Szymanski would say something, he would, and that was in the news, and as soon as you speak up, they're going to snap, and you're going to continually be bashed wherever you go. So he was being American, he was following the American dream, but he was being bashed, and his life was, you could tell he was affected by it, and they were trying to shut him up. That was in the newspaper. They were basically saying he was from another continent. That's their way of saying about me that I'm from another planet. That's what they keep referring to me, that I'm from some other planet and I'm not human. And it's the other way around. They're not human and they're like terrorists. All right, so that was an indicator with Dr. Kawai that there were problems at the Alta Bay Summit Medical Center. And so they were probably targeting her at that workplace, and that they had to come up with a different way of going on with their life, because they're people and they want to thrive. So that's how they came up with this business that they had, the Aura Skincare. And once you're targeted, though, even if you start your own business like what I did, they're still going to bombard you so that you keep being deteriorated, so that you are being diminished, so that you are being interfered with, so that you cannot thrive. That the result is that at some point in the future, you're going to be eliminated. You're going to be dead. All right, so that was one of the issues with Dr. Kawai. Okay, and she's Japanese, so that put her high on the list. They're a multiracial couple, so that put them high on the list. The fact that Morrissey worked in government, there was a couple of things there that I thought, okay, well, if he did come from a Catholic family, because his name is Irish, that means he's traditional, because the testimony was that they're family oriented. Okay, so that was an indicator that he's heterosexual. He's a white heterosexual, which means that he would be targeted by this Vatican II Catholic, which is to eliminate the traditional Catholic. So that was an indicator there. The fact that getting a job, employment was going to be, not working out, meant that, would there be evidence that he applied for work somewhere else? Did he try to get work in the government again? Was he already blackballed? This community here has a very corrupt, very violent, very volatile government system that is run by terrorists. And so if he was trying to stay here in the Bay Area and he wanted to continue to provide for his family, he would be shunned if he tried to get work in the government. Because that was already placed on him to shun him. All right, so some of you might say, well, do you think that he killed this Dr. Mark Edward Stinson? Good question. And I thought about that too. I thought, okay, maybe he doesn't have, he can't find work, and perhaps he asked Stinson if there was something that he could do to help him, to support his family. And it could go either way. Maybe Stinson was, and this other force behind it didn't want him to, and they eliminated both of them. Or it could be that Stinson did snap and he murdered, or not Stinson, Morrissey snapped and then he murdered Stinson. I don't know. That's a question. That's a question that is, something that for somebody who wants to find out what really happened, those are questions that you would bring up. You would look at all parts of this and say, what really happened here. Now, why the coroner's office is saying that, or, how could it possibly be that it was so completely beyond figuring out if there's no news report, okay? If this guy, Dr. Mark Edward Stinson, was murdered, okay, he was found dead in his home. They didn't say that it was a murder case. There's no news article. There's none. No news article talking about this particular man. So he's a white man. And so that he's a doctor here in Contra Costa County working at the medical center here, the regional medical center. So you could imagine that there was something else going on, that most likely, I would say most likely that Kevin Morrissey had nothing to do with Stinson's death, okay? To me, I see that this Dr. Stinson was actually high on the hit list of the supremacist terrorist regime within the government, the cruel Catholic MO. And, let's see. Okay, so those are the questions that you want to look into, and then we'll discuss it in another video.